Hello YouTube, the Alpha Hunter has returned and today I'm doing a viewer request video. I do read my comments, I do also listen to those who come in contact with me on Xbox Live. If any of you have any video suggestions or ideas, please let me know. I'll be interested to hear what you want me to talk about. I'll ponder over it, maybe even look up some things, and I'll throw my 2 cents here on this platform or on this channel with its own video, its own title, and so on and so forth. Today, I wanted to discuss lockdowns, specifically the one that happened in March, and how it affected 2 areas of American life. The first part of the 2020 lockdown that I want to talk about is the economic aspect. When the US government ordered the entire nation to stay home, do not go to work, and only leave when you absolutely need to, essentially for supplies, let's just say a lot of people were either laid off or they quit. According to some of the numbers, the unemployment rate got as high as 15%. The same, if not around the same, as the one in 2007 in the Great Recession. Yes, we had recession-level unemployment during this lockdown. And because of that, some businesses are gone. Some jobs will never return. Not to mention that the government got to decide who was essential and who wasn't. I remember a quote from PragerU. I get recommendations every now and then, and pictures that they send. It said something to the effect of, everything is essential to somebody. To say that someone cannot go to work because they work at a fast food place or that they work at a JCPenney's because they're not essential is to essentially say your job is not important to the overall economy. Your job is not important to America. Thus, we, the government, have the right to cancel your job. Now, it doesn't seem to some people that it's a bad thing, but to anybody who stands for our freedoms and our choices will have their heads ringing as loud as a fire siren. For example, in many of the states near the western coast or in the eastern, which for the most part are run by Democratic governors, there's been lawsuits piling up about the First Amendment freedom of religion. Essentially, during the lockdowns, there's been favor pointed to certain stores and even stricter guidelines to churches and synagogues. The state was sued over its hypocrisy successfully. People's First Amendment rights were being trampled on because of the virus. Now, I don't know about you, but I don't think a pandemic should be the reason why we should lose our rights. Now, for some, this seems as an extreme example. And to be honest, to some degree it is. But also, what gives the government the right to tell you who you can meet and who you cannot meet with? What authority is given to the government in our Constitution that lets them have control over our lives? This is terrifying. This really is. And I'm afraid of the long-term consequences of these kinds of actions. Sure, those were state governors, but they were trying to work it under the lockdown measures so as to either shift the blame onto the federal level or to have them excused of their actions. And I tell you, impeding on other people's rights, that is unacceptable. Speaking of churches and synagogues, that leads me to the second part of the lockdown that I wanted to talk about. the social aspect. Now, many people live their lives in social media. And I have to say, this is their thriving time. They don't have to be out at work. They don't have to be wandering about, whatever they like to do. They can just stay home and be on Twitter or Facebook all day. Heck, wouldn't surprise me one bit if came an influx of TikTok videos or Snapchat posts. But the thing is, with the lockdown, everybody got to see their own social life for what they did have before this. And to be honest, I'm betting a whole lot of people were lonely. This is coming from a guy that likes to be social. It's coming from a guy who likes making friends, who likes talking with people. It hurt those kinds of people the most. Depression rates were skyrocketing. And it would not surprise me one bit if suicides and attempts towards those things started increasing as well. Taking away people's social lives just to try and protect them from a virus that will spread anyway? I don't know. I really don't know if it's worth it. To be honest, I'm actually just going to segue right into the last part of this video, because this is what I wanted to talk about. When it comes to locking down the nation because of a virus, the question is not if people will get infected. It's a question of when. When do you want people to get infected? And how many? The lockdown tried to prevent people from getting infected. But all it did was try and hold back the eventual flood. And if there's anything I can compare it to, it's sort of like what people talk about when you have anger. You're supposed to let it out bit by bit and not just explode. And I think that's essentially what happened here with the virus, is that they were trying to block it and prevent it from spreading, that when we had to open up the economy, it started to come back. I know my brother and I got into a disagreement about this. And yes, some people have died from this virus. They were mainly elderly or people that had pre-existing conditions. Some children have died too. And my condolences to the families and friends of those who lost them. The virus itself, though, I'm not sure if it's worth it to ruin everybody's lives. And by ruin, I mean completely disrupt and alter. Especially when no matter which way you choose, you will lose people. You keep the economy open, you keep everybody working and keep the economy going, and people will get sick, some will die from it. Or you completely lock down with iron teeth the entire nation, and while you won't lose people to the virus very much, you will lose people to suicide. I think, in my own personal opinion, that the government should take an advisory role, where the government should give us advice over what we should do, and then let people be held responsible for their actions. If the government is the one calling the shots, then the only one to correct the government is itself. Because generally speaking, we the people have trouble uniting and trying to make the government responsible. So would you rather have the bureaucracy checking itself, which, let's be honest, we all think that they're just going to give themselves a pass? Or do you think they would hold people more responsible for their own actions? After all, we do have a legal system. We do have ways to keep people from doing stupid stuff. That's one of the reasons why I believe the government should take an advisory role. Another is to prevent the abuse of power. So that's just about all I have left to say on lockdowns. If I have any more to say, I'll leave it in a comment below the video, or I might even leave it in the description. After all, these are what I believe, and these are the things that I think. Alright, thank y'all very much for watching. Thank you for liking, subscribing, and then of course the bell notification, because YouTube being a piece of crap. And I hope y'all have a better December. And as always, good hunting. Well, if you made it this far, then you're going to hear some unedited thoughts. And to be honest, just thinking about all that the government's doing, some may disagree, and I respect their decision to disagree. I mean, it's how discussions happen, especially in a postmodern or post-truth era, where if you're not part of this group, then you're going to have conversations completely shut down. With the lockdowns, I understand that some jobs are necessary. But then again, you do also have to consider people's livelihoods. Sure, you can send out stimulus checks, but you do have to realize that when you put people in an unemployment position, then give them less jobs, you're worsening the overall economy. You're worsening everyone's well-being because of that. And like I said, I'm not sure if all of the risks that I previously mentioned when you lock down is worth having a higher infection rate, which also comes with a low death rate. I think people should just be careful about what they do. I think people should be wise, and I think people should take heed to protect others. I also do not think that the government should abuse their power in trying to control everybody. I also don't think it's alright to release prisoners because of COVID, but then throw decent people in prison because they decided they wanted to go to a friend's house, or they didn't wear their mask. As PragerU said, or again, it's from what I understood of it, is that everything is essential to somebody. Jobs are essential to people. That's how they make money. Me, I want to work and I want to earn my money. I don't want to be like my cousin where I suckle off the government every penny I can get. Perhaps in a future video I might make one over unemployment and those kinds of benefits, to perhaps maybe even bring ideas over how to fix it and get people working and then better the USA.